Welcome to my course, Game Development Basics, Week 8, Lesson 2, Console Commands. In the last lesson, we reviewed how to package a game for distribution. And here I'm running from that packaged version of my game. And I can see that I can go through and play the game as intended. And now I can start distributing this to various people. And when we packaged our game, we set it up as a development build, which means that the player still has access to some console commands. And we can access these by pressing the tilde key, which is right underneath the escape key on your keyboard. And then I can type a command in here. For instance, a common one is stat FPS. And then I can now see that my frames per second are being displayed on the viewport. And so when the player's playing this, they could be watching for dips in frame rate and make a note of where they experience those. So we may want to give our playtesters access to some of these console commands so that they could use them while they're playing our game. So in this lesson, we're going to demonstrate some common console commands that can be used while playtesting our projects. And in the Unreal Engine documentation, there's a stat commands page, and this is a comprehensive list of all of the different commands that we can use. Now, a lot of these wouldn't necessarily apply based upon the game that we're making, but if you're interested, I'll put a link to this list in the description for this video so you can check this out yourself. I'm just going to go through a few that I think will be useful to you while playtesting your games. And the first one that we already discussed is stat FPS, and this shows the player the current frames per second in the project. And when I'm playtesting, I almost always want to have this one on just so I could be keeping an eye on frame rates. But also if you want to hide the display of any of these, you can just put in the same command and it will go away. The next command is stat game, and this gives feedback on how long the ticks are taking. And just a quick demonstration of this, I'll type stat game, and we can see that it displays some data for us on how long our various ticks are taking. So in your project, if you're using the tick event a lot, you may want to do a playthrough of your game with this enabled so you can check if there are any dips in performance due to overuse of tick events. The next one is stat engine, and this gives frame time and number of triangles. And this is a useful one if you have a lot of assets in your project. At the bottom, you can see static mesh tries. And this is going to give you an average, max, and min of the number of triangles that are being displayed on the viewport at any time. So this can give you some insight into how assets are affecting the performance of your game. If there's a project that has a lot of assets in it, this is going to have to render all of those, and you may want to be aware of this depending on the platform that you are going to be releasing your game on. For instance, a mobile game can only render so many triangles on a screen at a time before you start to notice a performance drop. Stat GPU can display GPU statistics while we're playing our game. And this can be very beneficial, again, when we have a lot of complexity in our levels so that we can know if there's a performance loss during certain parts of our game. So this is a great one if you're trying to optimize for a specific delivery method where maybe there isn't as much GPU. Again, mobile, this may be something that you want to be conscious of. Or if you'd like to make a very lightweight game that could be played in a browser, you may also want to keep an eye on this. And the last one I'll go over is stat memory, and this displays the memory usage statistics while playing the project. And again, this can be very useful when you're trying to optimize your project for a certain application. And you want to be aware of how much memory the project is using. This can be especially useful if you're launching to something like Steam, where people have a variety of PCs, and you want to provide a stat on what the recommended memory is for your game. And like I said, this is just a few of them that are available for you. I recommend you go to the documentation and look up a few that may seem interesting to you and see how you could use them while troubleshooting your game. And that pretty much wraps up this lesson. And for the next few lessons, I'm going to be going back to the projects that we made to show some of the improvements that I made to my projects, and maybe even give you some ideas on how you could develop one of the prototypes we made into a fully released game. So I'll see you in the next lesson.